Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. We are here today with Josh Flores from Comet Backup. Welcome, Josh.
G'day, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm heard a lot about Comet and pretty excited to see a demo today.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks very much for inviting me along to have a bit of a chat. I'm really looking forward to talking to you and the rest of the IT business owners group.
Excellent, excellent. So what can you tell me about Comet?
Yeah, for the people that haven't heard of us before or how we came about to developing backup technology, I'll give you a little bit of the history. The short answer is we've been involved in backup for more than 10 years, actually significantly longer than that. We actually started our sort of journey in the backup business by being actually a backup provider ourselves in New Zealand. And we were one of the largest providers that was primarily providing backup to medical centers and law firms and other professional agencies. And during that time, we were using a number of different products that were available in the market to facilitate those backups. And during that time, we were, and this is a little bit of an evolution of how we get to Comet. During that time, because we were using all these different backup products, we're having a really difficult time monitoring and managing them all in like a central location. You know, you'd have to do it on each individual product to find out what was happening. So we started developing our own internal monitoring and management portal for these backup products that you could hook the server up to and get some metrics out of what's been happening with them, have a little bit of CRM functionality and that type of thing. So we had that going away in the background as well as the backup company. Then around about 2010, we sold the backup company to an offshore that was coming into New Zealand. But we still maintained our monitoring and management portal for these backup products. So now that we weren't involved in the day-to-day of the backup business, we were looking at, well, hey, let's continue forwards and commercialize out our monitoring platform for backup. Because if we were a backup company ourselves utilizing these products and we had these challenges, there had to be a number of other providers out there that also had these challenges. So we commercialized it further and we launched it. And that product's still available today. We still control it. It's called My Client Global. And we just launched and we had great success with partners all over the globe in terms of using these products to monitor and manage the backup. Now, it's really interesting when you're essentially a product that works in between the backup software and the MSP or the IT company, because the IT company comes to you and says, hey, how can you display this information better about the backup product? Ourselves integrating those backup products into our platform, we were starting to get a really comprehensive amount of information about backup products, who uses them, the functionality people want. But also through those integrations with the products directly, we were seeing what was good with them, where was it lacking, you know, where functionality was sort of missed. So we were starting to gather, without us necessarily realizing at the start of it, a bit of a blueprint for an actual backup product. And it got to that stage where we identified it and we were starting to do functionality that was starting to get to be a bit more backup specific. We're getting requests saying, hey, the backup product doesn't do this. Is there some way that you could custom build some type of functionality like that into My Client? So we got to the point that we said, hey, we've got all of this information about backup products. We know under the hood, you know, what we should be looking to do and achieve ourselves. And we've got a partner base that we can market to on day one when we go to market with Comet. So after a few years of development and R&D, we launched Comet Backup in February 2017 to the partners of My Client, and since then we've really been hitting a good stride in terms of global growth for Comet, for a backup product that is from an ex-backup provider that's basically been through all the different variations to one that's now just 100% focused on backup, and that's just really our focus. We're not doing anything else. We're not looking at, you know, becoming an RMM or a CRM or anything like that. Storage provider, that's none of us. All we're interested in doing is just developing backup technology for the IT industry.
That's great. Well, it's backups are something that we all have to do anyways. It's one of those things, you know, we as an IT provider, you have to present your clients with good backups. So good trusted backups that one, you know is going to work when you need to restore.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. It's like if you're backing up the data, that's fantastic, but it's only one part of it. You have to be able to get the data back when it needs be. So
That's
it's
right.
something that we take very seriously. That if people are trusting and utilizing our technology to protect that data, we absolutely will give that back to you when customers need it. So it's been a few different iterations to get to us doing Comet, but it's fantastic because it wasn't just necessarily the technology, but it was us looking at the industry and going, how can we be different? How can we flip things that it would be the
Sure.
way how we liked it? So whether it's the technology stack that we built Comet on, whether it's our licensing, we said, what's the industry norm? Can we do something that's different and probably a little bit more friendly here and mix it up a bit? So that's sort of really the approach that we've gone to for Comet.
Excellent. Well, I hear lots of good things about Comet. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's fantastic to hear. It's more that our focus is, we're just working with service providers here, and if we keep that narrow and keep it to the core target, we hopefully should, find the mark with most people. I think a lot of other businesses get a little bit distracted when they start looking bigger and in various different areas apart from their core partner base. But for us, it's just that sole focus on just going, how can we build really good quality backup and restore functionality?
Well, you're staying in your lane, that's for sure.
Yeah,
So you know what you're
yeah.
good at, and you're just focusing on making it better.
Yeah, well, do one thing and just do that well. That's what we're really interested in doing. So, yeah, that's a bit of the run through of I suppose the history of Comet and how we came about. So we're not just
Sure.
some random company that decided one day, hey, let's build backup software for the IT service industry. We felt that we could do it because we had really intimate knowledge of the backup industry through being one ourselves, the challenges we faced ourselves using these products. Restore scenarios where you go to restore something for a customer and it just doesn't work, when we were
That's the
using other
worst.
people's software. Yeah, working through that, so yeah, it's a lot of our own firsthand lessons going, how can we overcome that with the technology that we're building ourselves? So yeah, it's really exciting to be able to do those things because there are certain personal frustrations that we had that I go, yeah, we don't have that at all in our product, but that's the beauty of building it yourself. So what I thought I might do is just
Yeah.
give you a little bit of a walkthrough of the underlying technology of Comet, give you a high-level overview of the server, the explanation, some of the use cases, some of the functionality, and sort of go from there.
Sounds like a plan.
Cool. Let me just share my screen, and we'll get started. Okay, so hopefully you can see that fine.
Yep.
Fantastic. So what we've got here is the underlying technology in Comet. So Comet is two core pieces of technology. There's the server that you install and run yourself. So that means that you can bring it behind your own firewall. You can comply with any sort of compliance if you're doing like HIPAA or CJS or anything like that. Comet slots in quite nicely into your own environment. We don't have any remote access or anything like that, so it's entirely yours. Or the other option is we are able to host the server for you on AWS. Some people, in terms of, the further emergence of the cloud, some people are going, I don't want to run my own storage and I don't want to run my own servers. So
Right.
we can also handle the server aspect. The other component of Comet is the agent that you install on the devices that you're actually looking to protect yourself. So it's just those two components. So the server is where you centrally manage your clients, where you can configure your storage, your branding, and everything like that. And then the backup agent that runs on the customer's machine. So these four benefits here are the benefits of the backup agent that's running on the customer's machine, where all of the backup operations happen themselves. I'll just run you through these. So the first is there's client-side deduplication. So no data is sent off-site to storage or anything like that before it's deduplicated on the customer's machine. So this is really good if you've got customers with low bandwidth or perhaps monthly data caps or something like that.
Okay.
It also saves you storage space because you know that it's only the changes that are necessary being transmitted to your storage location. The next two are really quite interrelated. So there's no full re-uploads. So the first time that you run the backup, say it's a 30 gig file, that's the only time that you'll upload that 30 gig file. Everything after that is just incremental. So it's just the changes in that 30 gig file selection that are going to be uploaded. There's no periodic full re-uploads. So it's not like every, 15, 20 days it redoes that 30 gig or anything like that. We don't have that in Comet. And there's no synthetic full backups or anything like that. So just the full file for the first backup initially, and then the incremental changes every backup after that with that client-side deduplication, meaning this is really fast. It means it's really bandwidth efficient for you, and there's really good storage optimization. And then lastly is compression and encryption, which is, encryption is what everything needs to have these days. You've certainly seen, the rise of ransomware and frankly the steady stream of horror stories that are going out there. So when the backup runs on the customer's agent, when it's being processed is when it is compressed and it is encrypted, and that encryption stays with it right the way through the process. So when it's being transmitted to the storage, when it's at rest in the storage location, and when it's being transmitted back, it's compressed and encrypted at all stages. So even if somebody was to gain access to your storage itself, they wouldn't be able to do anything because the data is completely encrypted there. It's only decrypted on the device that you're actually running the backup on. So it just gives you that really, really nice assurity that the data is safe, it's secure, it's protected right through it. Both of these options, they can't actually be turned off. We have mandatory encryption and compression on these just to make sure that everybody's benefiting from these. So that's really the technology benefits. The other sort of highlights on the agent itself is there's no Java in it. So there's nothing like that in terms of large RAM requirements or anything like that running on the agent. It's really fast. It's really efficient. We've written Comet in something called Go and C++, so it means it's modern technology. It's really fast, and the code really works for modern solutions that you're looking to back up today.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's a quick run through of the technology, the server client model. What I'll do is I'll show the server, because this is sort of where anybody that's offering a backup service is sort of hanging out and administrating their backup environment on a day-to-day. Now, I'll preface this with, we've got a number of integrations with third-party monitoring management solutions. So some people utilize those to administrate their Comet environments on a day-to-day. The other aspect is we are an API first company. So from day one, and this is one of the lessons through doing integrations with other backup products, from day one, we've made sure our API is always up to date. And we are incredibly cautious that we won't ever break our API. Everything that comes out in Comet has an API associated with it. The Comet interface itself is actually rendered using the API. The reason we do that is we really encourage people that they can go in and integrate Comet really deeply into their environment, utilizing their API. So some people use the API to build out their own custom sign-up forms, whether that's for customers on their website that they can go to and let customers sign up direct, or they've got their own custom internal sign-up forms or flows for their salespeople or techs for onboarding customers and just making that process I suppose, fit a little bit more in terms of their existing detail. But let me jump back to the server and run you through it. So we've got these quick actions here on the left where most people sort of hang out, and I'll walk through these shortly. But you're able to get an overview of what's happening with your online devices, the status of the last 24 hours, the classification of backups and restores, some server history. You're able to see the patch notes about what we've been releasing, the new versions of Comet. And then we've got the server version, so you can see what version of this server that you're looking at. So how our upgrades work with Comet is quite simplistic. You simply upgrade your server essentially to the latest version. And then from there, you're able to, through a bulk update, you're able to really easily then push out a bulk upgrade to all of the devices that are running the Comet agent. And you've even got abilities here where you can also reinstall current versions, or you could even downgrade if necessary. It's one of the nice things with Comet is you can downgrade a client version and be connected to a newer version of the Comet server, and backups will still function fine. So you've got that flexibility there if you do need to roll things back. So let's have a look through, I suppose, this panel here. So the first is looking when you add a user for your backup business. You've got the ability to provide an account name and a username. A good way of thinking of the contrast of these two is the account name might be McDonald's, and the username might be the street that branch is on. So it's a way of grouping accounts that might belong to the same organization. You can bring your own password, or you can let the Comet server generate a custom password for you. Whether or not your customers receive email reports, if this customer is able to automatically request the storage vault. Now, this is quite a cool function for us, where what it allows you to do is when you install the agent on a customer's machine with the details that you've set up here, essentially the agent's able to phone back the server and go, hey, whereabouts am I storing this data? And it will pull back that information from the server. So this means that it's significantly faster for you onboarding, and it doesn't mean you're having to, copy and paste storage details between, a notepad on your desktop to the agent you're looking to install. It's able to go back and request the details. The other aspect to Comet with the storage vaults and just our backups in general is we're able to do direct to cloud. So your customers will back up directly from their site, wherever they are, directly to storage. And also the reverse of that, if you're looking to do a restore. So if you're using something like B2 or Wasabi or AWS, they'll be backing up directly to AWS and back. So there's no double handling of the data. It's not going via your Comet server or anything like that. It's the fastest and most efficient route possible for those backups. And then we've got the ability to apply policies when creating a user account, which I'll show you shortly, and just some standard settings around resetting passwords. The next option we've got here is the ability to download the client agent that you're looking to install on either Windows, Linux, or Mac that you're protecting. So you upgrade your Comet server to get the latest version of the installer, and then from there you can deploy it out to the customers you're looking to protect. Some people then take the latest version of these, they host it internally, or they use an RMM or something like that and use it to silently push out and install for new customers. Otherwise, you can use the bulk upgrade options. The recent activity, I'll come to you shortly. And then the setup wizard is more configuration for the server. So this is where you'd be able to go to if you're wanting to configure replication. If you're wanting to code sign the agent, you can do that. If you want to go through and completely rebrand Comet, you're able to do that from inside the setup wizard and more. But for the purposes today, just giving you a bit of a high level run through just to see the functionality.
But it is white labeled.
Yep, completely white labels. So everywhere that you see the word Comet or our colors, you're able to update and rebrand those for yourself. And as I mentioned, you can even code sign it, so it even looks like that you've developed Comet from your own business itself. So,
excellent.
Yeah. Cool. So let's have a look at some user accounts. So when you're selecting users, you're able to get a bit of an overview to see what's happening. This is just my demo server, so there's nothing too fancy going on here. But you can see an example here of if you're utilizing the account name in combination with the username, you're able to see how it groups up. But let's have a look at an account that I've got running here. So this is a user we've got set up in the server, and I can do things like updating around what's happening with the password. I can set whether or not they've got a quota. So certainly some providers, they look to sell storage and, blocks of storage, whether it's, 20 gigabyte quotas or whatever. Sure. You can configure that there. If there's a number of devices that this account is allowed to back up. So there's sort of that scenario that we run into with service providers. There are some people where they're 100% managed, where the customer does nothing. And then there are other service providers that essentially allow the customers to self-serve, run their own backups and select their own file types. Both of these scenarios we're able to cater for in Comet. So we do have some things there that allow both of those things. So such as being able to restrict the number of devices is certainly one of those where the demo account person might have to ring and say, hey, I've got another laptop I want to install the computer on. And then, if there needs to be some sort of payment around that, you can facilitate that.
Very good.
Email reporting. So we've got really comprehensive email reporting. You can actually build out your own really comprehensive email reports and rules based on pretty much anything you want. So this is a really fantastic feature if you're using a ticketing system that's able to receive emails and then convert that into a ticket, because you're able to build out custom email reports that are going to match whatever you need at your end to be able to ingest those and turn those into tickets for your team. So that's really it for the profile screen. We've got sort of 5 tabs that I'll just quickly run you through at the top. And this allows you to update and administrate the account. Now, one of the other nice aspects of Comet is at all stages, the server has a live connection between itself and the desktop agent. So any of these settings that I update here on the server will actually update almost instantaneously on the customer's agent. So what this means is that if a customer calls you for a change or something you need to update, you don't need to then organize a remote session or anything like that. You can just simply go to your Comet server and update those remotely. So it saves you a little bit of time there. So the protected item tab is probably the most important tab. And this is really showing you what the backups are configured on this agent here. So we can see that there are 5 different backup types here. We can see that there's a couple of file and folders. There's a disk image backup, another file and folders, and an Office 365 backup that's running. We're able to see the device name. So if there was a number of devices associated with this account, it's really nice to be able to, break them out and know what device is what. Able to see last backup job, successful details for it. Now, if I click on the protected item, this is where I can really start doing things around editing and updating what's happening with the backup agent itself. So not only can I update the type of backup that's running on the customer's PC, I can come to the items. And now one thing I can do is I can start to live browse the customer's machine that the agent's installed on. So if I wanted to come through and, as I mentioned, go through and update what I'm backing up, the customer calls me and says, "Hey, Josh, I'm backing up a couple new folders on my desktop. Can you capture those?" No problems. You can do that essentially through the server without any sort of remote session or anything like that, which certainly speeds it up. You've got the ability to include and exclude items. So if, for example, you're wanting to exclude all .mp3s and .avi files, you're able to do that. Or the flip of that is if you're wanting to include things. So say you want to just do a blanket exclude for all .doc extensions, just because you figure they might be sort of storing them wherever, you're able to do that as well. You're able to back up over network share. And then, of course, you can go through and you can update and remove, the backup settings. So it's really fast in terms of being able to essentially manage, what's actually been backed up on the customer's PC and being able to update and edit to it. The next options you've got is for adding pre and post commands. So a couple of I suppose pretty standard sort of use cases for pre and post commands for backup is you might be looking to back up a database. So you might have a pre command before the database runs, before the backup runs, that stops the database and it dumps it out to a specific file. After the backup's concluded, you would then look to back up that folder, and then you'd have a command to restart the database. Or an example of an after task might be something like after the backup finishes at 5 o'clock on a Friday, there's a command here that will shut down the PC. So a number of different things that you can do here around pre and post commands. It's just that flexibility that you can run them depending on what your environment and backup use case is. Scheduling. So we've got really comprehensive scheduling. You can schedule backups for really any sort of time period or schedule interval that really suits you and your business. Yeah, nothing really too much to say there apart from whatever time you need to back it up, you can do it. The other nice thing that you can do is you can do bandwidth scheduling based on the time schedule. So for example, you might have backups that are running Monday till Friday, 9 till 5. And during that time, you want to limit the bandwidth so that you're not eating all of their bandwidth while they're using the computers and the internet at the same time. Then you might have another backup that runs, from say 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. and that's at full noise, utilizing all of the bandwidth. So you've got some flexibility around there in terms of, backup schedules and strategies that you can look to achieve that. And then next is retention. So we've got much the same as the schedule. We've got really comprehensive abilities for setting up your retention to capture whatever sort of backup retention schedule and frequency that you want, whether you want to keep all backups the newer than a certain date, one backup each day for the last number of days, one backup each month for the last X number of months. You can configure all of that sort of retention yourself to fit whatever sort of scenario. So all of these 5 items are available in the desktop agent, which I'll show you shortly, but this is just how you can edit, as I mentioned, it directly from the server.
Very good.
So along the top here, we've got storage vaults. So if need be, you could come through and update the details of where the agent's backing up to if you needed to administrate that a little bit further at your end. The devices, this gives you a bit of a summary. So for example, if this demo account had a whole bunch of licenses, you can just simply come to that tab, see them all. You can see the number of protected items that's been backed up and the activity, whether they're online or offline. And I'll show you shortly what you can do with those. And then we've got the policies tab. Now, this is a really cool area for businesses that are either allowing their customers access to the agent, or for businesses that want to restrict certain types of functionality, what you can do in it. So policies that I'm looking at here is related to just this account. So what you can do is you can go through and lock down and restrict certain features, like I only want the available storage options to be from Comet and, I don't know, OpenStack Swift type backups, type storage locations. I want to restrict the types of backups that can run on this agent to these two, and so forth. And you can go through and you can do a policy where there's mandatory file exclusions, file and folder exclusions. So if you wanted the policy that it would always back up a certain folder, it would always exclude these certain extensions, you can do that. The same with the schedule, and the same with the retention. So you can do that on a per user level, but where it's a bit more powerful is to do it on essentially in a way that it creates it as a template so that multiple customers can use it. So on this server, for example, here, I've got 7 different templates here. I can see the number of different users that are on these different policy templates, and you can even set ones as default. So for example, this default policy that 4 people are using, if you recall, when we added a user, there was the ability off the bat to apply a policy. So in terms of onboarding a customer, it's really fast because you can add their details here about their username, their password, where they're backing up to, and then the policy. And that policy might have stuff that by default is going to be backing up, C/my documents or something like that, or it might have some mandatory folder exclusions or file type exclusions off the bat. So it's just really fast onboarding and reducing down the amount of individual configuration you need to do for each person, because you don't want to be having to do everything every single time for each person. You've got a way of really reducing that right down.
Good deal.
So that was it for really running through the abilities on the user account. We've got a couple of other sections here that I'll just sort of run through. So the first is the connected devices. So as I mentioned, there's that live connection between the server and the desktop agent at all times. So from the connected devices screen, you're able to see what devices are actually live connected right now to the server. And we can see at these 4 devices, we can see the version of Comet they're running, their local device names, what platform they're currently running on. Then we can come to the actions and we can do a number of different things. So we could remotely start the backup. We could remotely start a restore for the customer. We're able to update the software on a one-to-one basis if you weren't wanting to do it in bulk. And you've even got the ability to uninstall the software. So if you're looking to offboard customers or retire older devices that you no longer need to back up, you're able to do that remotely from the server. You don't need to do a remote session to uninstall it. You can do that all utilizing that live connection. Bulk updates, as I mentioned, run you through policies. I've run you through. Job history is the next section. So we've got really comprehensive job filtering for the history of what's been happening in your backup environment. So whether, again, you want to build out your own custom search query for some funky thing that you're looking for that you think is a little bit difficult to get into, you can build that out, or we do have some pre-built filtering. So if we're just having a quick look at all the backup jobs that have been running on the server, we've got a really broad overview of what's been happening. So the username, what device, what protected item it was backing up, whether it was successful, whether it was missed, perhaps there was an error that we need to look into. You can see the size of it, what's been happening started, the duration of the backup. Then on the right-hand side here, we can click Actions, which gives us the backup report of what's happening. So you can see, walking through here, this is the backup report of how it happened, what it went through. You can also click on this Files tab here, and it will also show you the folders or the files that were included actually in that specific backup job. So it's a great way if perhaps you're doing a backup and the customer rings you and says, hey, how can you let me know if that file was successfully backed up? Yep, you're able to see that in the email reports. This is also the same as if you allowed your customers to receive email reports. If they wanted to poke through it, they'd be able to see those inclusions as well about what was included in that backup. Then we've got the recent activity page, and I'll just filter this via activity. So this is where most people sort of hang out on a day-to-day basis for monitoring and administrating their Comet environment if they aren't using a third-party RMM or some other monitoring platform, is you can come to the section here and it gives you an overview of what's been happening in your Comet environment. So going from left to right here, we can see, for example, Comet will be able to tell us if any devices are offline. And if they're offline, it means the status of the backups that are running each day, which looks like there's a backup running every hour. There's 24 backups. So this means the device is offline. It's a great indication to ring the customer to say, hey, please leave the backup on. Is the schedule right? Do you still even use this PC? The other ones we can see here is we can see some protected items here that have got no schedule. Obviously, if a backup doesn't have a schedule, it's never going to run. So perhaps this might have been a misconfiguration by one of our techs or something like that. You're able to update those, and you can see that it missed. With some of the successful backups up here, we can see that, hey, this is running fine, so it's all green. You've got that daily overview. Somewhere it's green and red. What I'm able to do is I'm able to click on it, and it will take me through and filter through the backup jobs that are just related to that day. So this is really fast in terms of going, oh, I can see there was some successes, some errors that I need to look into, and then I'm able to come in here, jump into the job logs, and able to resolve and troubleshoot that. So this really allows you to have not just a what's happening right now sort of status of your backups, but you're able to have a multi-day window of it. A good example from when we were running backups ourselves is we would notice, there would be some customers where the backups would never work on a Friday and Saturday. And it was just a really obvious pattern when you looked at that weekly thing. And it was just as simple as calling them and saying, hey, can you just leave your computer on a Friday so the backups can complete? So yeah, it just makes it nice and easy like that. Yeah. So that's really it, just a really high level overview for the server. What I thought I might do now is just jump through and show the desktop agent itself. Oh, okay. One last thing. So let me just sort this out here. So this is the agent that you install on your customer's PC. Now, this obviously depends whether or not you allow your customers to even see this or access this. If you're fully managed, a number of people lock this, their customers don't have access to it. So there's some functionality that might be useful, might not be, depends on your use case with your customers. But for those people that do allow their customers to open this and perhaps self-manage, you've got the ability to add news items here. So what we've seen is a number of service providers that use this. They might put, important information about their business, the details about, where's the support number that they should call to, if they've got holiday hours or something like that. And this is really simple to push out to the agent. You can just simply come to the client news, update it, and say something like, hi, save it. And all it's going to do is it's going to push it out to the agent itself, which makes it really nice and easy that you can push out news as need be to your clients. So the agent itself, what we can see here is there's a quota associated with this account. I'm able to see an overview of what's been happening with it. We're able to see the protected items. As I mentioned on the server, we're able to see those 5 protected items that I was updating. You can also see it here. It's really easy in terms of if you're wanting to set up a backup on this PC, you can just go through and select what item it is. And then we've just got a nice wizard that's going to step you through those steps, whether I just want to go, I want to include desktops, my downloads for some reason. I want to go through and just select some individual folders. You're able to get an overview of the size of your backup selection. And then it's just simply as going through, do I have pre and post commands, as I mentioned? What's my schedule that I want to back up on? And then what's my retention policy that I want to have there? And once you've done that, you can simply go through and finish the backup process and run that. So that's from the backing up and setting up a protected item. One thing here is, of course, is the Comet logo here and here, able to be completely rebranded with your own logo and everything like that. When it comes to restore, so let's have a look at restoring just a really simple file and folder backup. So I'm able to see all of the snapshots. So because it's running on an hourly basis, there's obviously quite a bit here. But you're able to go through and choose if you're wanting to roll back and get backups from a specific day. Or you've even got the ability to search if you're wanting to search down for a specific item that you're looking to restore. But let's just restore something from the latest. Then from here, we've got the ability that we can just go through and we can just go, hey, I just want to select individual files. Like if I was just wanting to play out an individual file for my file and folder backup, or I could say, look, I just want to restore the entire snapshot in its entirety. Stepping through to the final restore screen before you actually run it is you've got a number of different options depending on what the backup type is. So you could restore it as files and folders. You're able to simulate restores. So this is a good way if you're wanting to validate a backup integrity. What you can do is you can simulate a restore, and what it will do is it will run just the standard restore, but it will restore it to a temporary location that once the backup is completed, it will clean it up and give you the job report. So it's a good way of testing out backups if you're wanting to demonstrate that to a customer. Program input. Now, depending on the types of backups that you run, sometimes there's the option that you can actually live stream data directly back into a running application if it's supported, which is one of the neat things that you can do.
Neat.
Or you could also just restore data as just as a compressed zip if need be. You've got of course, the options that you can just select, the general folder or location of where you want to restore it back to, whether you just want to go, hey, I just want to restore it back to the original location. And if you want to override existing files with the same file name, you can certainly do that as well. Job history, so we can jump through and see what's actually been happening in the backup environment, much the same as what we saw on the server. You can jump through, open a backup job report, see what's been happening, browse through, see the files that you've been backing up in the environment. Settings, so this is where you can come through and do some of the more advanced stuff, like if you're wanting to set up new storage locations directly on the agent, you can do that. Well, here's the example here of requesting the details about whereabouts am I backing up, requesting it back from the server itself. You're able to do that from here. We've got the account area. So you can press lock here, and what this will simply do is the agent will then require a password every time to open and access anything. So if you're concerned about perhaps your customers going there and being a little bit nosy and potentially breaking something because they're just poking around, you can restrict that there. Or if you've got the general concern about if somebody was to gain access to the machine, they can't even open the backup agent and do anything. So it's another level of security there. You've got some other options here around passwords and file names. These, of course, will be rebranded with your own business name. But these are some of the more, I suppose, niche and situational privacy considerations. We've worked with some partners where they've got very high security requirements, where they've got arrangements with customers, sometimes law firms, where the law firm just wants the service provider to do the backup, but they don't necessarily want the law firm to be able to just, be able to browse through file names or folder names because it might be sensitive or something like that. You can restrict that and basically say, yes, I'm backing up your files, but I don't actually know anything about what I'm actually backing up. There's that sort of trust level. And being able to configure further email reporting. We've also got the section here, which is the help tab. Now, you can set where this bar actually goes to any sort of web page itself. A good example might be that your organization, you build out a custom help page that this button directs to. So if you do have people that are self-serving, they can click this help button. It perhaps goes to a pre-built page on your company website, and it might tell them the support details, how to get in touch for that type of thing. But it's just nice that the customers can directly do that from within the agent, and you can direct that to sort of wherever you want to.
Very nice.
So that's really just a quick overview of the server and the desktop agent itself, and just giving you a bit of an overview of the tools and functionality that's available for people that are looking these days, just to run through and run a bit of a modern backup solution that's low touch, it's easily deployable. Going back to the API, as I mentioned, that's always up to date, comprehensive details on our website. Also, we've got a public GitHub account where people can go to, and we've got API SDKs available that they can go to and get further information there and get started. Then the other aspect that I haven't really talked too much about here is with backup, you obviously need a destination where you're actually putting this data and backing up to. So we support all of the major providers and some of the more smaller local favorites like Wasabi, B2, some fantastic providers like Firebase and other people in the EU as well. So you can basically bring whatever storage you want to. And if you want to back up to your own storage you're providing in-house, you can certainly do that too. Our sort of role is just provide the backup software to you, and then it's up to you where you want to store your customers' data to, and just go from there, really.
Very cool. I like it.
That's great. That's great. what I thought I might do is just, let me just run you over and I'll just have a little bit of a talk about sort of our pricing and licensing model,
Okay.
and just how people can get started. So let me just share my screen here. So one of the things that sort of going back to when we were thinking about launching the backup product was we ourselves were frustrated when we were trying to look for pricing for solutions, as they were always hidden behind the, hey, book in a call with the sales rep or something like that. So we were like, we're never going to do this. We're going to be completely upfront that anybody can come to and view our pricing. And they can come here and they can use our pricing calculator to actually work out what the costs are going to be. We're really upfront and really transparent about that. So how our pricing works is there is a base $2 charge that runs to have the Comet agent installing on a device. And then from that, you've got these backup types that are included in that $2 charge. So it's a files and folder backup, but you're also able to do these other backup types within that $2 charge. Then it's simple as if you're wanting to add on additional types of backup, it's simply on top of that $2 charge. So if you were looking to fully image a computer, it's $2 is the base charge and an additional $3, and then you've got a full image running of that device itself. Or if you're wanting to do one of these other backup types, and you've got a way that it allows you to really easily calculate and estimate out the type of costing of what it's going to look to be. There's no charges with us for server licenses. So for customers that are looking to build out larger environments around perhaps replication or looking to have multiple Comet servers so they've got best practices, we don't charge for server licenses. And we do that because we feel that it shouldn't be a cost that people look at. Replication is something that is done to have redundancy for yourselves and your customers. It's best practice. If we were to put a charge on that, people might think twice about doing best practices. So we don't charge for server licenses. We don't charge for replication, we don't charge for rebranding, and we don't have any charges for updates, or I think other people call it maintenance. Instead, ours is just monthly per devices that you're actually backing up. So our billing is monthly dynamic. So if, for example, you're backing up 20 devices that you're just doing file and folder 1 month, it's just going to be $40 a month. If the next month you're backing up 150 devices, the bill is going to go up to 300. And so it goes up and down in terms of what your actual usage is. We did this because, again, one of our other experiences with other backup products is if you're looking to get started with backup, is often you'd be forced into, pushing you towards a multi-year contract, but you didn't necessarily know how good the backup was. And the other thing is you might have to buy a minimum number of licenses before you perhaps even use them all. So if you're buying a whole lot of licenses that you don't even have that amount of customers or desktops to back up for, I mean, it's essentially dead money that you could be deploying that capital towards your marketing or sales efforts or something like that. So ours is just simple monthly per usage. We don't charge for storage or anything like that, and we shouldn't, because simply you're bringing your own storage. I mean, we're not here to clip the ticket or anything like that. All we're doing is what we think is some of the most fair pricing available in the market, and it's just monthly of what you're actually using there. The other aspect with our pricing is we've got a free 30-day trial that you can sign up. You don't need any credit card or anything like that, and you can road test out all of the backup types and also the different server options, whether you want to play with hosting the server yourself and then compare it with the option where we host it in AWS for you. You can certainly do that. If need be, we're more than happy to extend the trial out a little bit longer, because certainly not everybody, just has the free time that they can play around with new software all day. I mean, that really would be the dream if you had enough time to do that.
Yeah.
But we can extend that out, certainly, if you're looking to, do some proof of concepts in your office and things like that.
Very good.
So yeah, so that's just a really quick overview of sort of who we are, the solution to get started, and hopefully get you a little bit interested in what we can do. There's significantly more, but for the purpose of just keeping it brief and giving you a bit of an overview of Comet, I hope that's been sort of a really good run through.
Yep. And just to make it clear for members, if they are interested in starting that trial of Comet, they just need to go to cometbackup.com and click on the Start Free Trial in the top right.
Just start on the free trial. And if you're a member of ITBOG, feel free to send us an email at hello@cometbackup.com after you've created your account, and we'll be in touch and do a couple of other little special things for you there.
Perfect. Well, that's a wonderful overview. I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us today.
Yeah, thanks very much, Scott. And once again, thanks for the invitation to come on and have a chat to you all today. It's been really good to have a chat through.
Sounds good. Well, I never asked you. You're in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, so we're based in Christchurch, New Zealand. People say we're a little bit far away, but actually, these days with everybody working from home and working remote, the world's not too small. So that's certainly one of the other aspects to mention there is, so with us, we've got 24/7 support. So we've got support in our development team based here in New Zealand. We also have a support team also based in the EU. So between us, we're able to offer 24/7 between us.
That's
so
excellent.
Yeah. Don't be scared. We're not too scary down here in New Zealand.
Good deal. Well, Josh, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with us and our members today. I'm going to wrap it up with that, unless you have anything else to share.
No, just as I mentioned, encouraging people, got a free 30-day trial. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no obligation for it. Certainly, if you've got any questions prior to having a trial, feel free to drop us an email at hello@cometbackup.com. And if you've got a certain use case or scenario you're looking to cover, we can certainly do that for you. Probably the one other aspect that we do as well is we do free onboarding. So, for example, if you sign up for Comet and you're happy with it, and whether you're either wanting further, I suppose, assistance in terms of getting it configured to your environment with your storage, rebranding, that type of thing, we can help you through that. Or if you've got to the part that you're getting ready to go live with your service, and the engineer can do a remote session with you and just walk through you and your team and make sure you're happy with all the configuration, everything like that. And that's completely complimentary. We just want you to get the most out of the product.
That's excellent. Well, I can't wait to dive in. Thanks again. I appreciate it, Josh.
Cheers, Scott. See ya.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.